What's happening, my Jack family? Coach Scott here. Today I want to talk about accumulated fatigue, and is that something that could be holding you back from getting jacked after 40? Really looking forward to hearing if this topic is relatable to you, if you feel like this is something that is holding you back, or if it's a lesson that you have learned in the past and how learning from that experience has improved upon your overall training and your overall physique development. So please take a moment to drop a comment down below to share your thoughts, your feedback, and your experiences with your fellow men over 40 here on the Jack That's 40 Life channel. And if you enjoyed this video, please do me a favor and smash that thumbs up button. I'd really appreciate it, and it really helps this channel out. Of course, if you know a fellow bro who would benefit from listening to this video and hearing the advice, the discussion in this video here today, please do me a favor and share it with them. So, accumulated fatigue. Us men over 40, we tend to deal with a lot of little niggles, aches and pains, a little stiffness here and there, and we just attribute it to like decades of lifting, decades under the bar, maybe some stupid ego lifting that we did when we were younger and still kind of dealing with those issues. But in a lot of cases, those little niggles, those little aches and pains and stiffnesses that we are experiencing can be attributed to accumulated fatigue that we are not aware of. So what is accumulated fatigue? Basically, during our training sessions, we are breaking down our muscles. We're causing muscle damage, and throughout that training session, a certain amount of fatigue is building up, and that fatigue is going to require a certain amount of time to fully recover from. How much time is going to depend on the amount of volume we did during that workout, so how much work we did, how hard we pushed during that training session, how many sets we brought to failure, even beyond training failure. And it's also going to be very individual. We all recover a little bit different from our training sessions, so you got to take that into consideration. Now, if you don't allow yourself enough time to fully recover from that training session, some of that fatigue is going to still be there in that second training session. If you don't allow more time to recover, that fatigue just continues to build up, build up, build up, build up. And yeah, you can get through your training sessions and you feel like you're giving your best effort, you feel like you're giving it everything that you got, but you're giving everything that you got in a fatigued state. It's not the best effort that you could give to yourself if you were performing, like giving your absolute best effort in a fully recovered state. So that accumulated fatigue it's holding you back. You're not able to give your absolute best to each and every workout if that fatigue is continuing to build up. It may feel like you are because you're freaking pushing it every workout, but you're pushing it in a fatigue state. You're going to be able to give a lot more of yourself to each and every workout if you are fully recovered. From my observations, my fellow men over 40 who are always in this fatigue state, always dealing with those little niggles, aches and pains and stiffnesses, are the ones who are addicted to the training stimulus. They are in the gym 6 days per week, year after year, decade after decade, and are performing high volume workouts year after year, decade after decade, and they have a fear over the recovery aspect and taking time off from the gym or doing lower volume training phases. They're worried that they're going to lose all of their gains and take a step backwards if they take a break from the gym there. So they're all about doing the maximum amount that they possibly can rather than doing the minimum amount that they possibly can in order to achieve the exact same results. Now, if you could get the same results from 12 to 14 sets compared to 22 to 24 sets, doesn't it make more sense to do just 12 to 14 sets? I mean, that extra amount of volume that you're doing isn't allowing you to make any more progress. It's just more stimulus. You're just in the gym more. You're in the gym longer. And I know, like, I love being in the gym just as much as you do, I'm sure, and maybe even more so. Especially, I love the camaraderie, the social component of it, and I do love a great freaking pump. And I've been in that position where I have been myself volume junkie. Like, I love being in the gym. I've been in the gym 6 days per week. That was a big part of my training for years, and high volume workouts all the time for years. And that fatigue definitely accumulated and took a toll on me. And it wasn't until probably like 10 years ago where I started manipulating my training volume, where I would have those high volume training phases and then pull it back. And I finally, so some coaches will recommend, in order to kind of overcome this accumulation of fatigue, train for 3-4 weeks, maybe up to 6 weeks, and then have a deload week in there. So deload weeks are great. For me personally, I find I prefer a deload month. So or I should say a low volume month, where the first week is a deload week. Now, deload week is like lower volume and working at about 70%, I would say, of what you would normally lift for most of those exercises. Now, once again, for the high volume junkie, for the stimulus junkie, low volume training or deload week, they're like in the gym, they're just bored, like blah, blah. It's like, I'm not getting a pump, I'm not pushing myself too hard here. They don't feel like they're getting more, they're not getting enough out of it. Because again, they're addicted to the stimulus. They're not addicted to what's best for my body, what's going to allow me to thrive, what's going to allow me to improve, what's going to allow me to feel my best and live my life to the fullest. That is taking a deload week. That is dialing it back. So like, I appreciate those deload weeks where I am only working at 70% of what I would normally lift for most exercises. I thrive from that. Like, this feels good not to completely push it. Even though I love the pump, I love the push, I appreciate those weeks where I'm not having to give it all. So I'll do that for the first week, and the next 3 weeks you can progress. You progress on it, so you get up to 80%, 90%, but it's still, so you're pushing, you're challenging each set more each week, but it's still a low volume training phase. So you're dialing back the volume, and you have a deload week in that 4 week low volume training phase, and then I'll bump it back up to like a low moderate volume training plan, and then a moderate volume training plan. I'll kind of hold that moderate volume training plan for a little while, and then you challenge yourself with a high volume training plan, but it's only in the short term. So you are building up a lot of that accumulated fatigue, and towards the end of that high volume training plan, like, you know it, you can feel that fatigue build up, you feel yourself kind of feeling beat down, and it's time to dial it back and repeat that sequence. So that's been an approach that I have used for myself during the past several years in order to manage muscle damage and recovery. That's what this is all about. Getting jacked after 40 is it's a delicate balancing act between managing muscle damage and recover. A lot of people are addicted to the muscle damage, and they don't pay enough attention to the muscle recovery. So that low volume training phase, that 4 week phase that I go through, not only does it allow the fatigue to fully dissipate, your body to fully recover from all of your training, it's going to allow your muscles to resensitize to the training stimulus. So once you start bumping up that training volume again, your body can now respond to, so say you dial it back to just 9 sets per week per muscle group. For that low volume training phase, you bump it up to 12 sets the following month. Your body responds to that 12 sets better than it did had you been doing 12 sets for month after month, or say 16 sets month after month. Like, your body starts responding to that higher volume better and better when you dial it back. Whereas if you're high volume all the time, your body has adapted to that training volume, so it's not a challenge to yourself. You're giving your body no reason to grow, to improve, because it's so used to that high volume all the time. And then you got the double whammy of the accumulated fatigue, where you're not really able to give the best of yourself to your training session. So it's really difficult to progress. So you dial that training volume down. Now when you start ramping that volume up, your body's responding to it, and now you're able to even give the best of yourself to those training sessions because you've actually fully recovered. All that fatigue is dissipated. You have a little less niggles, aches, and pains going on in your body, and you just have this greater motivation and enthusiasm towards your training sessions. You're able to give the best of yourself to each workout. You don't feel so beat down. So periodizing your training volume is one way to manage your muscle damage and recovery, and one way to keep that accumulated fatigue in check. Another way is to pay close attention to the number of days that you're working out, and if you're allowing yourself enough time to fully recover between your workouts. Now, this is a topic that I brought up multiple times in the past 9 weeks since I've switched to a 4-day per week training protocol. In the past, like years ago, I was all about 6 days per week. Then for the past 3 years, I was all about 5 days per week. Again, just suiting my lifestyle. I like to have the weekends off, and I like to be in the gym during the weekdays. And past 9 weeks, I've been, I'm going to do a little self-experiment here with an open mind, kind of put my biases aside and see how my body responds to 4 days per week. And really, when it comes to my progress, my physique progress, improvement, and all that stuff, I haven't noticed any kind of there's certainly no dramatic difference between 4, 5, or 6 days per week. But the more, I got to give it more time. And as time is going on, I am starting to notice that I'm just experiencing less little niggles, aches, pains, and stiffness. So although at this point, I'm not seeing like big changes in my physique or anything like that, I just like how I feel. I'm feeling more recovered between workouts. So even though it's not translating to better gains or anything, I just feel better. I'm living my life to the fullest. I'm thriving in all aspects of my life. Now, again, I'm also doing this at the same time as I started incorporating more yoga into my training. So training 4 days per week allowed me more time to incorporate yoga into my life, doing a little bit more stretching. So I think it's likely the combination of the two. But bottom line, like training 4 days per week just allows me more time to do other things that I really enjoy in my life. So I would encourage you to have an open mind. If you're someone who trains 5 or 6 days per week, try 4 days per week and see how your body responds. And I wouldn't say do it just for like 1 month. I say you got to give it, because like in that first month I was like 4, 5, 6 days per week doesn't really make that much of a difference. But after like 9 weeks so far, I'm like, I'm just feeling better. And again, it could be the yoga, it could be a combination of the both, but you got to have an open mind, give it a try. And it doesn't mean you have to do 4 days per week all the time. I'm sure there's going to be moments where I'm gonna be, all right, let's challenge myself, let's go back to 5 days per week, maybe even do a month where it's 6 days per week, which I did for the month of November. Did a little experiment, bumped it up 6 days per week. Absolutely loved it. And a part of it was, again, the stimulus, and a part of it was just the social aspect, especially being a bro who lives on his own here at home and works from home as well. I don't have, it's tough to be, there's not a lot of opportunities to be social. So getting to the gym is a big part of my social life. But what I'm learning is that I can still go to the gym 5, 6 days per week if I wanted to, work out 4 days per week. Other 2 days, I can do some cardio in there. I can do some stretching. At least I'm in the gym, I'm being social, I'm seeing my bros. I can soak up that atmosphere, but I'm allowing myself, I'm doing some things to allow me to actively recover if I want to actually be in the gym and have that kind of social component at the same time. So again, it's all a matter of having an open mind and having a heightened sense of awareness. This is stuff that I am discussing all the time on this Jacked for Life channel here. Just being open, not being closed-minded, that really holds a lot of us back. And just addressing, being aware of our own personal biases. I used to have a personal bias towards body part split routines. It's how I built my physique. I mean, that was from the time I was a teenager up to my early 30s, body part split routines is what I followed. So of course I had a bias towards that. And I was like, anyone's like 3-day full body work, I was like, forget that stuff. Now I'm like, then I opened my mind, and now I'm trying all different kinds of training splits, and it just opened my mind to creating even different hybrid splits and realizing they all work. The best thing is trying to bring in a mix. And again, it's tough to say, like for me, is the improvements I'm experiencing dropping to 4 days, is it just change in of itself? The novelty factor, change is a big thing. Like someone who's going from 3 days to 5 days may experience a similar benefit that I'm experiencing right now because they're so used to 3 days per week. Just changing things up from time to time, I think, is a solid thing for us men over 40 to do. It's just not getting stuck in our own ways, following the exact same training split, the exact same volume all the time, the exact same number of weeks that we're in the gym all the time. Mix it up, make it a whole part of your yearly training plan. But really important, I think a lot of us don't realize, it's tough to be aware of, is the accumulated fatigue, am I accumulating fatigue? Am I in a fatigue state right now? And I think a sign of it can be the little niggles, the little aches and pains and stiffnesses, but a lot of times we're like, well, I can still get in there and work. I'm good, I'm fine, I'm recovering enough. But I don't think it's really tough to gauge, especially at this age, over 40 with decades of lifting under our belt, where strength gains, I mean, we're not making much progress. If anything else, we're just happy to kind of maintain our level of strength. And a lot of us are recognizing that it's better for us to even lift lighter than before, maybe a little bit higher reps, or at least controlling the movement in the same rep range with lighter weight is a lot better on our body than it is trying to continually increase the load on the bar. So a lot of people gauge, well, if you're not continuously adding more weight to the bar, that's a sign that you're not recovering enough. Well, at this stage in the game, I think that's a poor gauge of whether we're recovered or not. Because we're just, even if you're in a fully recovered state, we're not going to be getting much stronger from this point on. It's going to be a big challenge. Those strength gains are going to be like minimal, if anything at all. So, and even same thing with muscle gains. Like, we are damn near our genetic potential if we've been lifting for decades and we're over the age of 40. Like, if we can gain a pound a year, pound to 2 pounds a year, we should be celebrating that. That's really tough to measure on a month-to-month basis. So it's really difficult to gauge whether we are recovering enough from our workout. So it just takes a matter, again, like for me, it really took about 9 weeks to really realize, you know what? I don't have the same niggles in my shoulders and joints as I did before when I was training 5 days per week. I think there's something to this, but again, yoga. So again, heightened sense of awareness, experimenting with different things, having an open mind is absolutely key for us men over 40. So now, at this point, I'd love to hear from you. What are your thoughts? What's your feedback and insight on today's subject? Are you a high volume junkie? Are you a stimulus junkie? And do you fear taking a week off from the gym? Do you fear deloads, whether it's 1 week or a month? Do you fear dialing back the volume? Do you fear training less days per week? If you're 5 days or 6 days per week, does the idea of 4 days scare the heck out of you, thinking you're going to lose your progress? Again, I think in a lot of cases, some people will experience better progress from lowering their volume and the number of training days. Again, I think a lot of it is change, novelty factor, and finally getting to that point of allowing your body to fully recover and the fatigue to dissipate, and you can ramp things up again. So there's so many different factors. There's so many different nuances involved here, but I think it's worth experimenting and just really having that heightened sense of awareness in regards to muscle damage and recover. So would love to hear your thoughts down in the comment section below. If you enjoyed today's topic, please do me a favor, smash that thumbs up button. I'd really, really appreciate it. If you know a fellow bro who would benefit from watching today's video, please do me a favor and share it with them. Then before you go, don't forget to download your free guide, Jacked After 40. Have yourself an amazing day. Catch you next video.